Go ahead, Rod.
We up.
I'm just waiting 1 second. Good night, everybody. Good night. I'm just waiting on my end for this to come up. Let me take a little bit of time. Good to see all these old faces, the same places. It's good that we got a senior team on here tonight, because I think that means everybody on this senior team can definitely speak to what we're going to be talking about tonight. And the power of what the conversation will be tonight. Being able to talk about the topic. What if I cannot afford child support? What to do when you cannot afford child support? I'm glad that we have our resident attorney on here. We have what you consider, Rohan, a street layman attorney.
Yeah, he our street attorney.
Street attorney who can speak to those things. And really we can kind of really break this down. And I come somehow we're getting this topic tonight because I've seen a couple things recently, definitely with people trying, I don't know if people are checking and paying attention to the economy and how things are operating.
I got it on that.
But I know it's a big part of, this is a big part of how we handle or deal with finances and what happens in our society. Again, I'm Ron Osborne. This is Fatherhood Think Tank. I'm going to let the fathers introduce themselves, and then we're going to get into this topic. Tonight's topic, what to do when you can't afford child support. And I think that it's not as simple as people kind of going to make the topic. They're trying to make it like, oh, simple, just pay it. But there's more to this idea of when it means that you can't afford the child support and what happens to not just the father, but the child and the whole family in this process of someone taxing you as a family. As I would call it, I call it a family taxing, that it goes above beyond the normal taxing that you have in the other place. And so, hey, let's go around and hear who's here tonight, and let's get it growing here at the Fatherhood Think Tank.
All right, my brothers. My name is Johnny Gaspard. I'm a father of two young adults, 24 and 21. Grateful to be on here and just want to share my knowledge and to also glean from each and every one of the brothers on here. Go ahead, brother Thomas.
Okay, Thomas Alberry, a father of two adults that are married, and I have 7 grandkids, 2 boys, 5 girls. Tonight, I want to welcome all that's online right now, and who will be watching it. Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 1 granddaughter, 3 young women, 4 young men, and a grandson on the way. So it's always a pleasure to be here.
Who missing?
Jay Young.
I'm Justin. I'm a father of 5. I have 2 boys and 3 girls. And I'm always here to enjoy my time with you gentlemen per usual.
Dion Eames, father of two boys, one 17, one 14, one in college, and one starting out high school.
Dion, quick question. I mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
Do they play for the YMCA?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, okay, I thought I recognized them. All right, just making sure. My son plays for them as well. That's why I was just confirming.
Oh, who your son play for? Well, I
He
don't know.
plays for the 12 to 13s.
All right. Yeah, mine are they're on the same team now. So I guess the 14 and
14 to 17. Yeah, the older groups.
Yeah, next time I see you.
Definitely. I definitely shout you out.
Yeah. All right. Small world.
Cornelius Fuller, father of three, 2 boys and a girl. My boys are 19 and 9. My girl is 18. Yeah.
You sure, Cornelius?
I think so. She just had a birthday like 3-4 months ago.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Rohan. You're the last one.
Good night, fathers. Again, it's always a pleasure to be on the Fatherhood Think Tank. I learned so much, and thank you for having me on this program. I'm a father of 2 young ladies, 17 and 16, and I'm not divorced that, but we do the best we can for our daughters and ex-wife too. Thank you.
Hold on, what?
Don't start, Rod. Don't start.
Hold on.
Go
Did
to
you
the
say?
topic, Rod.
Hold on, Rohan. Hold on, Rohan. I didn't hear you. And you said that you do the best for your daughters and your ex-wife too.
Yes. I
This
have
man
to.
is a stark model of what it means to be a 24/7 dad, man. I'm only saying it because I personally know him and I know his story, that this is the example of when we talk about that even at some point you way better than me, because I try to have that compassion, but it always reminds me every time I would like to be in that place, I think about where I'm at right now, and it just kind of like rubs me in 2 different ways. So to know what you went through, and for you to be able to openly, publicly, and again, this is not just a little private. This is seen in China, Taiwan, Africa, all over the world, that this divorced father could say that he's still concerned, still wants to maintain in the best interest of his children's mother. And that is, I mean, that is it's powerful. And for us to really know and realize that it doesn't have to always be fight and blight and anger and mad. It could be that I'm a man, we didn't work out and things didn't work out. You did what you did and I did what I did, but I still care about you as a human being and as the mother of my children. And I want the best for you. And I think that is again, I know, Johnny, I think I'm about to jump on your case, but I'm actually giving you a bushel of flowers.
Yeah.
To really show a model of what we don't often get to see. And so this is an example. And I'm telling you, this ain't Rohan, you can stop me in time. I'm getting too shared too much. But Rohan didn't want a divorce. Rohan didn't want to leave his wife. Rohan wasn't out whoring and philandering. Rohan wasn't doing those things. His wife just got, like a lot of women, they moved to a different country and she wanted a different life.
That is correct.
That's the basic thing. And and in that sense, you're talking about wanting a different life. Listen, how often have people thought about, we think about the pain that mothers go through when the fathers leave and they get divorced, whatever. But I've been with my man from the time he was married to his wife, and I know the pain that he might not show, he might not explain and cry and crank and all of this stuff. He hadn't did. He's been a stand-up father and man all this time about it. And let's look at these types of people as models for us of what we can do as fathers, who when we're facing this. Because a lot of times we usually go with when we see the crowd. The crowd say, F that, forget that, get nothing from me, all of these things. Whereas here we have someone who telling you, hey, I got done, I got the banana in the tailpipe, the whole 9 yards, but I still love this person, I still care about them, and I still want the best for my children. That's fatherhood. That's what fatherhood look like, 24/7 dad. So that, again, Rohan, I know I always give me a hard time because I'm your friend. But I'm definitely gonna support you because I know this is the kind of model. If you're looking for how to approach, if you are divorced or not married to the mother of your child, the kind of approach to the kind of father you want to be, because the fathers who married are like that as well, already like that, even if they just married for the vision.
Ron and gentlemen, to all fathers here, we sometimes doing the norm, not doing the norm is not cool. Meaning most people want to do the norm. Everyone is speeding. Are you one of those persons who speeds to the light? I talk about that all the time. Why are you speeding towards the red light? You're going to stop anyways. Sometimes we have to do something different. And one of the things we should advocate for, we know that whenever someone is stressed, you raise your chance of a heart attack. You raise your chance of damaging your arteries because you're always in that mode. You're always in that anger mode and that fighting mode. You have to look at your health. Your health play a big role. Your children are going to need you down the road. So keep that in mind. Being angry, being stressed, and carrying that weight is very heavy. So I would ask all fathers to make every effort to put that weight down, put that stress down, and let's move forward despite the changes we're faced with on a day-to-day basis.
All right. Great. Thank you for some great wisdom and sharing some knowledge for the Ron as well. That was definitely good. When Ron talked about moving to a new country and wanting a different life, all I could think of was coming to America, and not coming to America, Eddie Murphy Raw, where he told that joke.
That's right.
Meeting marrying the chick in Africa, then bringing her to the States, and then she talking about she won't have. That's all I can think of, but I just laughed in my head, but I wanted to share that on a serious thing.
I've watched it several times. I'm very aware of Raw.
Yeah, and we have, and again, if you want to see what our thoughts is about that, we got a show that we did about 3 weeks ago. I want half. Eddie Murphy is the thumbnail for it. So you go back and hear what we talked about. That definitely is there
for sure. But as far as the topic, Ron, which is what we can do when we can't afford child support. I'm from a perspective of both legally and just from the mindset of a father, just be available. I mean, and sometimes the part about that, and because you may want to be available, but because you can't pay the child support, she makes it hard for you to be available. And I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of fathers encounter, in that when they're unable to financially contribute, the mothers are oftentimes using that as the reason why they won't let the father even have the child or spend any time with the child. They justify his inability to give them any money to support when the child is with them as the rationale to not give him any time with the child, even though he wants to, even though having him take the child off her hands for even 5 hours or a couple hours would save her a few dollars. She doesn't look at it like that. She just sees it as, oh, this is him getting what he wants. So as a result, I'm not going to give it to him because he can't give me what I need. And I think a lot of times it's hard for men when you are trying to be present even when you can't provide, or be a protector when you can't provide, because that's generally what us as men are, made to do: provide, protect, and what's the other P? I know it's provide, protect, and something else. From a scriptural perspective, be our priests. But when you're not in the same house and you can't be the priest, and you're not in the same house and you can't necessarily protect, and you don't provide, what do you do in those situations? And that's where oftentimes, even when you don't think you can afford it, you still got to go to court to try to establish something for yourself. And I just share that with a lot of men that, sometimes the women will make it difficult for you to spend time with your child. And you have to understand that the justice system or the courts are there to hopefully support you in, as Rohan often uses and Ron does, advocate for your child and for you to be present with them.
You know what? and I have to say this because as a man, I'm used to the treatment. I'm used to, as a man, particularly a man in America, but a man in the world, I'm used to being pacified, right? I think being pacified as a man, particularly in society, we're the most pacified people in the world. I think I was on Twitter, and it's saying that the way that the narrative is painted for Black men in America, it's like we have to always be rescued in some way, shape, or form. I'm saying that to say this. We're so busy and hung up on child support that we miss the fact that we're negotiated at the fact that we're supposed to really be providing child security, because what you just explained about being a provider and a protector is security, not support. But we get so broken down by child support, we can never really get to the true security that we were created and meant to be. And that's because we are pacified by our women, and for so many reasons. Number one, the ratio of men to women, and particularly men to women in every culture in this country, but particularly men to women and women in Black cultures in this country, is higher than most other cultures. It's still high in every culture, but highest in most culture. And so this is why we're not pressured, expected to really reach our full potential as it pertains to being the men that they need us to be, right, as women. So women, of course, women can make more than us and still treat us exactly as if we were making more than them. You understand? But if you flip that, you understand, how would the treatment be distributed when we flip, we make more than them? And now we got all these stipulations and standards because we make more than them, and the woman got to be this, that, blah, blah. But when it comes to us, there's no real standard. All we have to do is maintain a support status. And then we can still pretty much still get the pick of the litter when it comes to women. And so I have to challenge myself on it. I'm not even calling no other man on the plate. I'm calling me on the plate. The fact that I am not going to reduce myself to a support mechanism. You understand? When I'm supposed to be on a security mission, especially when it comes to the women and children in our culture. And so I can't give no more pacifiers out to why you can't do it when you should be doing something that you should be doing. Because I'm like, hey, ain't no such thing as you can't do it. You have to do it, because if I dump that baby on you today or tomorrow, that mother is killed.
There you go.
Or deceased. Now you put in a position that you have to do it. And support is a non-negotiable no more, because now you don't have a support, what they call it, a support mantle no more. Now you got a security mantle that you got to obtain. And so I think even in animal culture, notice I said, in animal culture, they don't even function in a support mechanism. They function in that security mechanism. And I'm saying that, listen, if we can't depend on our intellectual capacity, let's just depend on our instinctive capacity and start to be the men who God calls us. That's all I'm really saying. But I'll come back with more after these messages.
Ron, your thoughts?
Well, I'll let you know the truth, and you just asked, like, how you gonna work that? Let me tell you something. The men we grew up with, I think about every guy on here over the age of 40 can attest to this. We saw examples of men, and I don't really subscribe to role models. I take role models, ball up, throw that crap in the garbage. What I can tell you is I subscribe to roadmaps. And all of us had roadmaps in our community, but you saw guys who took care of their family. You saw men, even if you didn't have a man in your family, you saw a man in that neighborhood that took care of his family. And you saw the roadmap that he had to take care of those families. You saw him pick up them cans and them cardboards. You understand? You saw him load that station wagon up. He's working a job, but yet he's still picking up cans and old furniture. I see it right now in my community. And they're dependent on their job, right? And their instinct to get what that family needs to be the security that they need to be to that family. And so we had the roadmaps, but we reduced it to role models. You understand? I'm like, no, get back to our roadmaps, because our roadmaps are all around us. Matter of fact, we had them definitely around us, because those roadmaps would start to be father figures for children in the neighborhood who didn't have no fathers. And some of them roadmaps will actually take you on as a surrogate son, just especially if you one of the friends of his children. You get to be he gets to be a surrogate father to you instinctively. You didn't even have to ask, because he already know that, you know what, my kids have friends, so I'm gonna make sure that not only do I have enough of my kids, but enough of their friends when they came over, so they didn't have to do what what you could do when it was time to eat. They'll go ahead and hide and eat, and they don't send your heads home. But when a man was in that house, you understand, and he provided more than enough for his family, he made sure that the children or the friends of those children didn't feel like an outcast and service and function like a surrogate father. We knew a lot of men in our communities that we were growing up, we grew up in, and we were privy to, that don't never get their narrative brought to the forefront. And so we always talk about the victim of manhood and not the really victories of manhood and the men who really helped this community down and was the roadmaps for us before we became the role models.
What you said they'll send you home when it's time to eat.
You know what I'm talking. I might even did it at our house. We had a lot of heads in that too.
Well, I mean, but I wanna put this out here, and I definitely hear a part of what you're saying. And I want to be very clear, and that, you know, this child support thing, right? I think that, you know, Lightborn says a really good aspect of it, that child support is something that a system made up. That they're saying this is what you should do, because that's what they have control over. And I think the biggest part of that is that both of us as parents have to get out that mindset of being controlled by a system and tell us this is what we should do. And I say that because when I look at Jay's comments in the chat here, you know, he's saying, well, what if you paying high child support, you're not able to even get to even touch or even initiate that type of, you know, support or anything to the child, because the mother feels like, you know, that maybe she feels like that her opinion, because in this case, her opinion can dictate that she feels that you're not capable or you don't know how to, or, you know, this is the problem with allowing a system to control a family, you know, because that system is also supremacist, discriminatory, because when we really start, you know, Johnny can tell you, you know, they all go back there in the back room together and drink that Kool-Aid back there in the back room together. But why people like Rohan sitting out there with a suit all dressed up, saying I'm gonna get some justice today, and the only person getting it just out of here. You're getting just out of here today. Not no just us, just out of here. But again, this is a perfect example to say that this is not a system made to really mandate and control what happens in families, because families have so many other dynamics other than simple oh, they need money for this, and so you're going to provide it. But what happens in these cases where, as we see in other countries, and I love to use other countries as an example, they don't have a system of child support like that. The father's role is knowing that he has to take responsibility of, if he got 20 kids from 6 different mothers on the whole island, he goes and gives that mother the support, and all his kids at the time that he can, he gives them, and they all know who their daddy is at most cases. Now, I'm not gonna say it because somebody gonna say, I know cases that they have, but I'm talking about when you begin to see, when you don't have a system, then, you know, kind of saying what should be the control of these families and how it works out. And that the idea that the only support that the system is worried about is financial support. I'm still waiting for legislation or for some judge to come and say, okay, what arbitrary, what they have, what y'all have them? Mediator, arbitrators,
yeah,
all those people to say, you know what, not only are we want to be concerned about the money, we also want to be concerned about the time. and we're not taking it for granted about the time. And when I say we're not taking granted about the time is that we want to ensure that you listen, they don't bull skate around when they talk about time, how long you're gonna stay in the state penitentiary.
Mm.
So I'm just saying, listen, when you don't say, oh, well, if you pay enough money, we're gonna keep, well, I better not say that because it's true. If you got enough money, you might can stay.
You might get what?
If you got enough money, you might can stay out of the penitentiary.
True.
You got enough money. But when it comes time for sentencing, when are we gonna get some sentencing of the time you got to be with your child? And it shouldn't be affected by anybody's feelings or emotions or anything else. It should be, he gonna be with this child because it's what's important.
Well, listen, that would be the ideal situation if the judicial system looked at it as this is how it should be as they quote unquote often use as a landmark statement, the best interest of the child. That would be the ideal situation. But historically, and Lightborn has leaned on this a couple of times in the past when we talked about the history of men in this country, unfortunately, is that we can leave. And we've had a history of leaving. Mm-hmm. So the court's mindset is that, okay, how do we make them who may want to leave have a obligation that forces them to stay to some degree? And this is how they go about doing it, Ron. As much as we want to say that we would pray that every man who has a child would commit to being present and involved and want to be there, we know that unfortunately that's not true.
Yeah, but because and here's one of the problems, that many of them didn't plan for that. They plan to have, again, I'm gonna say this again, we always plan to have the sex. Sex is, listen, we had everything ready to have the sex.
Correct.
Just that we wasn't planning to get any packages after this. This is not what, that wasn't what I planned. And we don't have the kind of communication as relational people between men and women when that does happen, to be able to manage it in a way to say, okay, this is not what you want. Because let me tell you something, when a man says that's not what he wants, the woman doesn't take it personal about the child, she takes it personal about her.
Her, correct.
See, we keep, sometimes we always thinking about is the child, but that ain't the person you had the relationship with. The child is a byproduct of all this, who usually gets the consequences of all this stuff between two people in a relationship. I had a conversation just the other night with, with this group that we kept saying that these byproduct things, we keep saying the kid, but it's really not focused on the kids first. It's focused on the two parents and the two kids who maybe missed things in their own childhood, is expecting to get them from another person in these relationships. Now I'm going into another place outside of what we're talking about. But if I have an expectation that I didn't get love and I know what I think love should look like, the person that I'm in love with should give me the love that I feel like I didn't get from whoever was supposed to give me love back then. And then I don't get it. That means that you lied to me. You said that you was going to give me love. Are you misled the whole presentation? So now, matter of fact, I know how to really make sure you give me love, because if I give you a baby from me, then you really gonna love me because I gave you something that was so valuable that I feel was valuable to you, without really checking with you, maybe not checking with you to make sure that you was ready to do that, or that you had the capability to do that, or that you was even interested in doing that with me.
Or for them, it might be, okay, now I have something that's going to love me unconditionally.
And I can love it, yeah. I have control over how the love works.
Yeah, so, okay, so the dad don't want to love me. All right, well, I know this child gonna love me because I gotta take care of it. I'm bringing it into the world. This is my baby. So I know this child gonna love me unconditionally. So that may be the other part of it. I just think, unfortunately, not the system itself is set up not to necessarily, and I use this loosely, and I ain't gonna get no fight with none of y'all here, not to batter the man, but to take care of the woman. because the history of the country has oftentimes allowed men to leave her to handle everything on her own without the consequence of anything. And because we have that freedom as men to walk away.
I won't say as a freedom. I think that what we keep forgetting, that this country, and our country denotes it for other countries, that that system of patriarchy and ownership, that as the man you are the owner. Listen, this is quoted everywhere you can. The man needs to do this. He has to do this. He's in charge of this. He owns he owns the wife, the children, the cow, the house. So in many instances, the system is made to make sure that when you establish these things, you are responsible for them. Correct. Even if you decide to go away from them, you are still responsible for them, because no other man, and this is almost kind of, as I would say, medieval, that nobody else is responsible for them but you. So there ain't nobody else gonna come and take care of this woman and this and that, because you have already, as they would say, you have already deflowered her, and the only freshness you had. So you gotta continue to take care of that until the day. And that's the Canaan, system that we have. And I think one of the issues is that we're developing in another way, but we're still following that same patriarchy objective of how things should go. And again, listen, don't get it twisted, because the same patriarchy is very close to the idea of plantation owners and white supremacy, and all that stuff is all rooted in the same thing, that this man runs all of this stuff, and no one has any power over top of him. He has dominion, as I like to say, dominion over everything else except another man.
Right. Correct. But in that same thing, I'm gonna let Lightborn jump in. But the same thing in what you just said, Ron, is exactly why the court system felt the need to put in what they put in, because he does have ownership, control, and he is responsible. But what if he is that man that doesn't take responsibility? Now what? What do we do now? So again, we're going on a different path than what the topic was, but I think the topic of what do we as men do when we can't afford to support, we have to somehow find a way to allow us to be involved. And when I think about Jay's situation, he's paying money, he's paying the support, but not getting the opportunity to be involved. We're gonna find a way to help Jay get involved.
Right.
And that's my goal. So we have to figure out, how do we help the father get involved? How do we give him the time to be there for his children when the woman is saying no and the system hasn't said anything? And you know why the system ain't said anything? Because according to the system, he ain't asked. My thing is, if I got to pay child support, you should automatically set up timeshare. But they treat it as two different things, because if she come for child support, she didn't come for timeshare. So we ain't gonna set
that's
up
the motion. But Johnny, a lot of that becomes the emotional part of this whole thing that the court doesn't have time to deal with. Rohan said all the time, the court don't deal with feelings, but they, in many instances, they do, because sometimes why people come to court is because of feelings. Like if you give me the baby, if you give her the baby, right? Yeah. And she felt like you don't love her, immediately her mindset might tell you that you can't love the baby either, because it is sanctioned somehow in the mind that if you can't love me, you definitely can't love the baby, because I love the baby like I love you in many instances.
I hear you.
Many times. And it's like this conversation where they understand that men and women just do things differently. I'm not gonna love the baby like you love the baby, but how do you denote my love? Because my love has to set up to your standards. But guess what? I can't question your love and how you do things.
Because the child came out of you.
There you go. Listen, that's all I'm just saying. We have to really think about that, because when we talk about child support, listen, I don't think child support seems very punitive to a lot of men would say child support is punitive. They'll argue that child support is basically just a tool and weapon of women to get revenge for whatever has happened between them. For their promise, the promise this man has made, even if he didn't verbalize it, but in his actions of being involved with her sexually. Because I still have to believe, and I have to believe, if you get involved with somebody sexually, you signed a contract. Like it or not, Jack, you signed it.
And what's the contract? What am I in that contract? Just to be clear, what did I contract to?
It whatever she wants.
What?
Listen. Whatever she wants, because in her mind,
a contract.
Listen,
in the law, right? Hold on.
In her mind, listen, John, hold on. Let me tell you what I mean by that. In her mind,
a meeting of the minds. That's what the contract said. I mean, you and I had the same thought. We understood what we wanted, and as a result of that, we came together and agreed to do something. Right, Rod? That's a contract, according to
but see, here's the problem. You had a contract with a prostitute, right? It's very clear what the exchange is. She's not, listen, you will not find there's the likelihood of a prostitute getting pregnant from you is almost as likely than a cow flying over the moon, because she would not listen. Let's be honest, because it is not a good business opposition for her, because her job in her mind is, I need to be available to continue to have and provide sexual pleasures to receive the income that I receive.
Correct.
Right? A baby is not going to, a baby is going to hinder. And this man that I know only wants to have sexual pleasures with me is not going to do anything to take care of a baby that he has with me, because he paid me the $40.
Okay, we clear that, but let's come back to the contract you talked about. The when I had sex with a woman, I'm in a contract.
Listen, listen. I swear, if I ask listen, every woman, and again, brothers, I don't know if people heard this before. When men say, I agree to have sex with this woman, if you unmarried, I mean, I won't even say that, because even in marriages, people have already talked about the idea, maybe I'm not ready to have a kid yet, we're gonna take it away or whatever.
Correct.
But then also, if you decide that you don't want to do that, the second, I believe that, in my belief, once you start having sex, that contract goes out the window, because a woman feels that, this can happen, because once the purpose of you having sex with me is for me to get pregnant. So that's the contract.
Ron. Okay, to all fathers, I'm just going to put my piece in. 90% of us don't communicate. Sex is designed to reprocreate. The human being race, sell sex, use it to manipulate, use it to control. Now, 90% of the time, both parties don't communicate the goal of sex, or in fact, the intent of sex. And that's why we most time end up with child support. And by the way, let's just keep it real in the Fatherhood program. Child support is money. You could put child support / money, because that's what it really is. You're paying for a child that you are, either the mom brought it to the big man, watch some movies with back in the days, and the lady would say to the guy, hey, don't let me bring it to the big man, I'm going to get my money. So it boils down to money. So let's talk about money. We know, what can fathers do when they can't afford child support? So that's a question that is on paper right here. Simple. You have to do the work. Now, what is the work? You have to probably go to a fatherhood class. Go and try and be a CNA. When you go back to court, you want to prove to that judge that I'm doing the work. I'm making the effort to be a father. I want time with my child. That has to be proven to the judge. 90% of what the judge do, just to let you guys know, you can share this with your friends. Do you know being a judge is one of the most stressful jobs? It's on the top 5 list of a stressful job. A lot of people don't know that. That judge is going to make a decision that's going to affect all parties involved. And that's a very stressful decision. I remember talking to my judge. He locked his face like he was ready to fight, and he laid forward, ready. I looked at his body position, and right away he was ready to engage. And all I had to do, I had to make that judge relax. I got him to the point where he sit back in his chair and he was relaxed and said yes. So I didn't create an environment of fighting. I create an environment of advocating. Now, let's talk about money. Let's talk about money, because that's what it's all about. When you are on child support, it is an open case. It doesn't come off until the child reach maybe in some states 19 or 18. I can't say, but it's an open case. I went to pay off my child support. I brought the check and I gave the lady. She said to me, "You can't pay it off." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, it's an open case." She gave him back my check and said, "You can't pay it off. This child support is an open case until the children reach maturity."
Okay, hold on. I just got to ask the question. What made you think you could pay off the child support? When you said pay it off, you mean like bring it current? Is that what you meant?
No, I mean that based on my child support, I had enough money to pay it off. Meaning I could go there and pay off the amount owed for me.
Pay off the amount that he owed.
You mean the amount that you owe?
You got to be the first Negro in history to try to do prepaid child support.
No. There's a lot of people do that. I mean, listen, there's a lot of people who try to say that. I mean, I asked that question when I went down. I said, so what if I had $1 million and I said I just wanted to pay child support up to me, and they said no, they wouldn't. They would not allow you to do that. It is an ongoing thing until they close the case, and it has to operate in the process of month by month. So only thing that you could pay up is if you have a rearage, you can pay that up.
Right.
But the accidents think that, oh, let me pay, I'm gonna go out the country for 2 years. Can I pay up child support? They're not taking it. They're not, no, you can't. You have to just pay the pay. It's like a tax. It's the father tax. It is a tax you will have to pay, and you will always have to pay it, and it can change based on your financiality at any time. But it may not change for your benefit unless you actually end up on the street, because it doesn't change, because if you end up homeless on the street, a bum, you are still going to end up owing, because they're still going to assess you money. So the idea of this is almost like 12 years a slave. You need to work until you work enough time so your children make the age to be able to be free of child support, because the system, and because we know many mothers who have tried to stop and help the father get off of the child support, but the system says, oh no, they still owe us the money, regardless of what you say, Mark.
Yeah.
All right, you can still get the adjustments, depending on what you just said, Ron, about up and down. I mean, if your job, you're making less money on another job, you had to change job, you got fired, whatever the case may be, you can go down there. And I forgot the actual terminology of it, but you can go down there and have them to adjust. But so I don't want to make it seem like, oh, you're a slave to the system. I'm like, no, child support is well needed. That I can amen to. You understand? But when you look at the things that are crimes, let's just look at it this, because we're not really we don't really put things together like we should. We just worry about money. Forget the money right now. Let's just say the 3 major crimes, DCF, I'm talking about literally legitimate crimes against children in DCF. And those crimes are abuse, abandonment, and neglect. If abuse, abandonment, I know abuse is enforced, but if abandonment and neglect was really, really enforced like it's supposed to, what would you be now as a father?
What would you what?
Be as a father. What would we be as fathers? If abandonment and neglect was really enforced.
Okay.
Because it is a crime against children. You understand? I don't think that the system really could be what it could be, if you ask me. If like it can go Adolf Hitler if it wanted to, because I mean, like, the crimes are on the books. Those are legitimate crimes that don't offer any prosecution to the father, even though fathers abandon their kids in some cases neglect.
They don't offer no consequences for mothers who do that.
And so with that, well, they don't. I mean, they don't have
any
to, because
parents, both parents get free,
because the history actually sides with the mother. And
the
so when
what?
not being in the court of law, you're gonna have to go. I'm like, man, come on, man, go with the history, because one thing about it, Ron, you are a history buff. And so if you're gonna respect the history, you're gonna respect all history or none of it. Now, don't just be silent with Black history.
What's the hit? What the
history when it comes to women, especially women in this country, especially the mother of our children, especially Black mothers, especially all mothers. But I'm just talking about in general. I'm like, man, listen, we're gonna be realistic. This child support didn't come about by osmosis. We know that. We know there was a horrendous crime. I mean, godfathers was going out there and having kids and having multiple families, not just in our culture, in all cultures. You understand? And so it was a necessity. Child support ain't like a happenstance. That's a necessity. It had to happen. We grew up around people that we saw do this crap. We grew up where, and as a matter of fact, we're victims of turning with Rohan's, back to Rohan's point, the meaning of the reality of what sex was really for. We took procreation and turned it into a recreation. But we don't want the consequences for it.
But Lionel, see, I agree. I don't have no disagreement with anything you're saying, but I'm not going to at any point de-adept what as I like to call, in many instances, we do this very often, and we do it as men. We begin to unequalize women to say they don't have the knowledge. Like like outside of being raped by a man,
Correct.
they have a choice to do everything that a man does in this society we live in. And we don't live in the Zirconian era where women don't got a control over what happens, what they can control, what they do or don't do. So in many instances, and then even in this abuse of what happens, very few children are abused. Are these neglect charges are made when they're involved with a mother and a father who wanted these children.
Well,
you don't see that in a family where a mother and father agreed to have children, and they neglecting and doing things to their children. You don't see that very often.
But you're saying women have a choice. Like, wait a minute. Come on, man. Women in general, right now as we speak, right? There's sexism in this country and women wages and stuff like that. There's no way in the world we're gonna put women on equal footing as men. Come on, you just said yourself that we live in a patriarchal society. But you can't say that. So if you said that, then it void out the other thing you just said. They had a choice.
Listen, my problem is because I say it's patriarchy, that don't mean I believe in patriarchy. I don't believe in because believing in patriarchy means you believe in oppressing women, and I don't believe in oppressing women. Yeah. I believe that
you don't
women
have to believe in it.
I am more of a feminist idea, but I will acknowledge patriarchy because that's what we don't do a lot of times as men. We'll say there's no such thing as patriarchy, and at the same moment oppress women with the idea of they don't have the equal quality of us. Then they do.
I agree. We can agree on that one.
They have the equal equality. So that with the equal equality, have the equal responsibility that comes with some of the things that occurs as being parents. But a lot of times the system, and I'm only saying this about the patriarchy, I'm bringing up patriarchy because the system believes in patriarchy. The system believes that women should be oppressed. The system believes that women are not as capable as men in things. And it's interesting because this weekend I listened to a very interesting presentation on NPR about this idea of wages for men and women and the wage gap. And that was so interesting because they identified that yes, there is an idea of the wage gap between men and women, but we use that and we say that generally, but we don't identify why that's a wage gap. And it has nothing very much to do with being women and men. It has to do with the type of jobs that women are willing to do that becomes more flexible. This idea that women are going to be more flexible in what they have to do because they are always thinking about taking care of other people. That woman is not going to take a job that's going to take her away from her kids. She's not going to take a job that's going to take her away from her. She has a husband. She needs to be the husband, take care of caregivers. Men will take a job and don't give about anybody. All they care about is getting paid that paper, and because they need that paper in their mind to provide for everybody around them and do whatever they need to do. So that gap.
Dr. Ron, that you gotta understand when they came up with that not only just a narrative, that's a study, the fact that they was talking about women doing the same exact job as men. You understand? That's where that came from. And so I'm like, well, that's spot on. I'm like, listen, you can't disprove that. If the women are doing the same job as men, at the same job as a man, and getting paid less for it, they're 100%
Right. Correct.
Okay, gentlemen. I like this. Let's go back to the what can you do if you can't afford child support? Let's go back to the money. Let's go back to the meat. And mind you, everything said here is important. It gives everyone an idea. But let's talk child support. We know around $2,000 to $4,000 your license gets suspended. Most men whose license gets suspended can't work. Many of us in this room can probably talk about that. Yeah,
I can. I'm going through all of that right now, Rohan. Every
Okay.
last bit of it. Child support, Go
Okay.
ahead, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So no, that's fine. So Jay, here's the deal. Most times when I get issues in front of me or some a hurdle that I have to jump, I go for information. Here's the deal. At 8,500, they will come and arrest you. So right now you talk about the license. Arrest is also in the pipeline. So keep that in mind. So let's continue. How can we increase our income to pay child support or go to court and reduce the time? A judge.
How about we don't do any of those things? How about we do it? What you said earlier is find a way to try to find a level to be able to deal with the mother, because again,
I'm sorry.
There is no married couples who are on good terms with each other. No man is paying child support in that family. There's no married person or person who's in a good relationship with the mother of their child paying child support a lot of times.
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay, Ron, valid point.
I've never seen people happy and they leave the court. Oh, he ain't paid child support and they hug and kiss afterwards and go. I've never seen like, oh, let's go to lunch tomorrow. No, I don't. I mean, I don't know, John. I mean, Johnny might can speak.
Right, you're right for the most part. But the thing, Ron, that's what we're saying, and I think that's what Rohan is saying, though. We're using the context that the parties aren't on good terms with each other. Because if we were on good terms with each other, 9 out of 10 times, there would be no need for us to go to a court to be able to have them enforce it. The problem is this, because I have a client right now. She didn't, when the baby was younger, she didn't want him to have any time with the kid because he didn't want to be with her. Okay, so she was holding the kid back. So he files a paternity case and get time sharing with his child. So they eventually get a little older. They get, I guess, at some point she gets, I don't know, some type of epiphany, and she says, you know what? I'm gonna have a good relationship with him. I'm gonna give him time with the child. So now they're good. So he's getting to see the baby, so much so she goes and withdraws her child support case. And since she no longer wants to enforce it, she's not giving child support any information, they go ahead and withdraw the child support case. He then says to me, hey, Mr. Gaspar, I think we don't need to really go forward with the paternity case no more because me and her are good. This is what he says, right? They take. So I said, well, look, you already have the case open. Just go and establish your time sharing.
That's right.
So that way, if God forbid things, there's a time when she's unhappy with you, she can't simply, again, restrict your time with the child.
Exactly.
And I don't know, Ms. Gaspar, because right now we good. And I think if we go back to court with this thing, she might want to act up with the child support thing again. I said, well, I'm going to tell you this. You should be paying the child support anyway. That should even be something that got anything to do with her. You should just be giving her the money anyway. So if you do that, it don't matter what she goes and asks the court for child support because you're already doing it. But if you choose not to do it because y'all are good and she's not asking you for anything, then you're putting yourself in a position that if things don't go right, she will hit you with all that back child support. So how about we do this? Let's finish it, get your time sharing, set up child support so you ain't got to worry about it no more.
Right.
And whether or not y'all good or bad, whether you good or bad, you got this in your hand. So Ron, I hear what you're saying, that it's necessary when things are good that you don't have to go before the court. But when things were bad and I had to, now that they're good, me just simply backing away from it doesn't necessarily put me in a better position as a father who's not married to the mother, or was it the father of the child through a marriage? If I don't want to deal with her possibly saying no, I can't see my child no more, I gotta go to court. And that's what I'm saying to you. Ultimately, this part about, and the question tonight is what to do when we can't afford the money, as Rohan said, give them the time. Tay, I know you've been itching to say something, so I'm gonna let you jump in.
I just had my people's coming in, my people's that came in twice. But now I think we all missing. I think we all missing like the number one point. And when it comes to like the conversation now, not the topic, but I think the conversation now, I think we all missing the number one point. Because the courts are set up the way they set up, that is why the women act like that. That's the only reason why. If they change, like how you say, if a woman go to court, and women say, hey, I want child support. If the court say, okay, in order for you to get child support, we must start setting up, or they make it mandatory. We must start setting up visitation. If they do that, you know how many women won't go to court? They'll literally try to work it out because it's all about, like I know Mr. Rohan say, money. No, it's all about control. And I'm gonna stick with that. Everything is about control, because if it wasn't about control, if it wasn't about control, or necessarily if it was just all about money, then a lot of times they know for a fact you don't have nothing, or they know for a fact you giving them whatever you can give them. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. Think about women nowadays sleep around with broken out. It ain't like this. This is a lot of stuff I hold saying because I said on my own podcast or I do this live. But like, come on, man. A lot of females definitely in our culture sleep with guys who ain't got shit. So when they put them on child support, it's about control, man. Like, let's be real. It's about control. It's not about see. When you sleep and a woman know that you got money, of course she's gonna want to take it, but she still wants control. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, when you don't go, when a woman don't see eye to eye with you, you got to go to court. But I'm telling you, why y'all think every single law that they trying to pass when it comes to women, when it comes to abortion, when it comes to this, when it comes to that, why you think women fighting so much against it? Because they know they have the advantage in the system. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't know none of y'all personally, and I went through that already, so I can say it. I literally went through that. Like, women know they have, and I grew up with number women. I seen them do it when they know they have control over the system. I went through that personally. You feel me? They know they got control, so that's what they use it to their advantage. But if they don't, once they don't have control, all that shit everything get cuts out.
But that's the problem, Tay. That's the problem. Historically, they haven't had control.
Historically, what?
Historically, women have not had control.
Right.
Women have always the system. What are you talking about?
No,
always.
No. Historically, in this country.
Historically, man. Listen, Tay. Historically.
Okay, hold on. So I'm talking about when it comes to chat, when it comes to kids.
Correct.
I don't care
Got you.
Because that's the situation. But when it comes to kids, they always have
that they have not always, because there was a point where a man could simply take the kids. A man could simply take the kids from the woman because he's the lead. There was a time when that was the situation.
Around 100 years ago?
That's this right here. What, last century?
Jay, I agree. I hear what you say. You're thinking of what's going on now in the world we're in today. But the laws and what were created was because of what happened in the past. So when people are talking about it, and again, fellas, I'm just being devil's advocate because I've seen it in the court, but my goal is always to help men get their time sharing, because even if you can't afford the money, you can get the time.
Right.
So that's always my goal. That even if, as Ron said, because even if you're unemployed, they're gonna hit the child support system will hit you with the minimum wage situation. They're gonna assign you with minimum wage, and that's how much you make to justify what you owe and to determine your back arrearage. So that system is what it is. We're gonna have to provide money. And I tell guys, it's always, but if you were given time to be with your child when you couldn't afford to pay her, would you take it? And that's the issue we have with a lot of men. Don't get me wrong again. I'm not bashing guys because I know there's a lot of dudes out there who would take the time. But there's
Johnny,
also a lot of men that don't.
but John, hold on, hold on, Tay. Let me help you. Let me help you. But Johnny, I'm listen. That's I have to I have to agree with the young brother. I'm gonna tell you why I have to agree with him about that is because I don't know why it is, and I don't know what it is that every time I'm just thinking about it, even a recent incident with my own brother and my father. The incident that just recently happened. We were supposed to all go on a trip together to Orlando on the Bright Line train.
Okay.
The mother wanted to go on the trip.
Fucking up out of nowhere.
The mother wanted to go on the trip.
Mute, Tay.
Excellent.
Mother wanted to go on the trip.
You got it.
And when my dad said, no, it's just for me, us, and then ever. When my dad called my little brother to go on the trip, he couldn't go because he was sick.
Was he sick?
He was on the phone telling my dad he was sick. Mom said he was sick, he wasn't well.
Yeah.
And she told him that, she'll take him up to Universal on the train and what have you. And so I say, it's just, I have to agree that in many instances, that whole, and I don't call it power and control. Like I call it gatekeeping. There is a gatekeeping that occurs with mothers, and they believe, and this is important, and we have to understand the psychological parts of this. If a woman is to be really a true woman, she has to be a mother. And there's things that she must do, things she believes she must do to be a mother. To be a man, you don't really have to be a father. You can actually be the worst father in the world, and men all over the world will still respect you. You will still be the man of the men.
Sure.
In this world we live in. So when we try to understand why there is this idea of gatekeeping, it because no woman would ever want to lose her womanhood, because womanhood is so closely connected to their motherhood compared to men, where their fatherhood is it should be connected.
Should be.
But it's not, and it's the society social construction that really don't hold men to the same fatherhood standards as they hold women to a motherhood standard. So it again, we're talking about, when we talk about these things and why some of these things happen, we also got to understand some of the psychological ramifications and some of the influences of why this has happened, because if we don't, it just seems like we're just arguing back and forth, but there are a lot of factors that cause us to end up where we end up. And hopefully as people are listening and they're watching the show, they'll say, I never thought about that. So let me try to do this, but I'm also going to do it, still keep my paternity case open and still work. Because again, I talk to this guy, I talk to a friend of mine, a professional, he's a therapist. He worked with kids, he did all this, he had a baby with a woman who wasn't his wife. And luckily, when it happened, he was able to get advice from me. I told him what to do. I told him, oh, you're on good terms. Oh, you should get a parenting plan. You're on good terms. Oh, you should make sure she, fills out the paternity that you're the father. Oh, make sure she makes the jurisdiction for Broward County. All of these things, I suggested that when they was on the good terms, lovey, happy, go lucky, she did all of them. But you know what ended up happening? He enforced one of those things and she went to jail. I'm just telling you, he enforced that, hey, I have time on the parenting plan with the child now. And so he now come. She came to his house, and she, and I don't know what she actually did, but I know this. She went to jail and it became charges against her based on what she did because, and again, she felt justified because as the mother, and as the idea of gatekeeping, the stuff she was doing because she supposed to do it as a mother, and as him as a father, he shouldn't want to do that anyway because you're a father. That's not that important. It's important for me to be with. And so we have to also begin, I think, as a society to, really reevaluate this idea of the roles of mothers and fathers, the equality of it. But it also comes into the idea, we would see some idea of equality of it if fathers got a maternity leave to have to be with the kids.
Well,
We're looking at it's such little things, but we have a lot of factors against us as fathers that if I told the job that I wanted to go do something with my kids, I might be on the verge of losing my job. My child's mother could tell me I got to go pick up my kids. They don't say, oh, we get that. Let's get Johnson. They called Johnson, take over. What's her name? Stuff because she got to go get her kids.
Hey, I went through that. I be going through that at my job. That's no lie. I about to cuss the whole building out.
Well, to beat that, make sure. I think Ronald said this. Before, put pictures of your child. When I go to most professionals like the doctors or the cardiologists, they have pictures of their children on the desk, on the locker. Make sure that your employer knows that you have a child. That's something that I've heard. I think Ron mentioned before.
I don't even post my.
I agree with that, Rohan.
Huh? What you say, Elder?
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with Rohan.
Because
put your pictures out. Put them out.
Right. Elder Tommy, right? Because if you state that you are a father before you an employee, they gotta respect that. In the interview, you let them know, hey, my son is an all-star running back. I pick him up from practice every day. I go to all his games. And if that don't fit into this job, it don't fit in this, hey, I probably can't do it because that's my son and this is how I. And then again, I tend to probably use that as an example because that's bad.
And let me add to that. We have known that most people, as father mentioned, pawn control, we've known HRs who've actually walked out and looking in someone's car to see if there's a child seat. The game is played, and I can say this. If that job is not for you, find another job. Because if our HR is going to look and say, okay, she got a baby car seat in back of her car, she's going to take time off for the kid, I'm not going to hire you. Okay, so what? Go find another job. You may find another job that can accommodate that situation. But let's go back to child support. I'm on the child support bus or the train, so to speak. So I'm speaking as someone who's on the train, yeah? So here we are. We are on child support. The benefits of child support. Let's do this. Some of us get very comfortable in our situation, meaning that you go to a job, you get paid $12 an hour, you go home and tell your family, you know what, man, that job only paid $12 an hour, and we stop right there. However, the United States have opportunities to go open a business, and you can earn more than $12 an hour by opening a business. So child support can actually get you out of your comfort zone to a next level. So to get out of child support, or you can't afford child support, you have to adjust your numbers. It is just that simple. To live in Broward County in Florida, you need $82,000 to live comfortably in Florida. Let's just make it clear. I'm putting numbers out there. So if you're below $82,000 a year, you need to start checking your numbers.
You need another job.
Say again?
You need another job.
I always tell my students, you need another job, or you need to be an employer.
Well, I know Tay about to cuss you out by what you just said. So Tay, go ahead. You was going
I ain't gonna cuss about it. No, what I'm about to say, I'm like, what I'm gonna say. So you're saying that, okay, if you gotta pay child support, right, you gotta get another job. But my thing is this, and I fight this heavily. But what if me and a woman was together, would I still have to look for another job because there'll be two incomes in the household? No. Why, if it don't work out, I leave, and it's like, now, all of a sudden I gotta find another job. But if I was still with you, it wouldn't have been a problem.
True, right? And I'm gonna say this.
That's my problem.
Well, I agree with you, Tay, but I'm gonna say this to you, and the system says this: is the child with you every night?
But let's talk about that because we'll get on that. So about man, our job is to provide. So of course, when it comes to parenting, when it comes to parenting, I know that's why we get looked down upon, because throughout history, our job is to provide. So of course, we're not going to be around the child as much we supposed to.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Because as a real man, you know what I'm saying, real man, you supposed to go out and provide by any means necessary. You know what I'm saying? So I understand. Oh, a lot of men can't do it, and a lot of men can do it. Now, the problem I have as well, when a woman can't do it, they give her help, or she go get an abortion. That's my problem. But when a man can't do it, we look as deadbeats. Like, I have my son 24/7. Don't get me wrong. I be needing breaks sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I be needing breaks, but at the same time, it's like I've seen my mom do it. I've seen my sister do it. And I also, like I said, I grew up kind of different. So I seen my best friend dad raise 4 kids on his own. And I don't like talking because I'm loud, because I don't know who watching this.
It's
but
all good.
and I don't know I'm talking about her. But he raised 4 kids on his own. So I grew up different. So I grew up when I seen a lot of moms that's deadbeats that need DCF to come to the house. But when DCF do come to the house, they still help them. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. So it's like, I forgot who was saying that if we really get charged, let these women be neglecting their kids 24/7. I was raised in the hood. I see it. They leave them home, go out to the clubs, like stop, like that's what they do. Like, come on, man. Like, it kills me. It's just like,
I'm not a disagree with you 100% because you are right. I have seen that myself. The system, however, and then we'll come back to that and we'll wrap this up. The system, however, says the woman is the mother of that child. She is the nurturer, the one that's going to care for that child. She's going to be the one that's supposed to be the most influential from a day-to-day nurturing, rearing position. You got me? So when she is falling, their mindset is let's help her up. When we are falling, their mindset is get your black up or your own pull up. What they say, pull up your own bootstraps.
Right.
That's the expectation of us as men to get up and go get us and get something because we're men. When it's her, because she has to nurture this child, rear this child, she needs the help. I don't disagree with you, Tate. It's wrong. There's a double standard, but life is hypocrisy. We are walking hypocrites, right? So the system is no different. The system is no different. But so I'll say this, Tate. And I'll let Lightborn jump in before we close. From the perspective of child support, if your child is, and most men aren't home overnights, the child doesn't spend overnights with them because, as you just said, Tay, so intelligently, we out getting the money. So we don't have the time to be home nightly with our child because maybe we just got home at 7 o'clock at night. The last thing we want to be doing is taking care of, now have to spend all our time raising a child. So the court says, well, if the child isn't with you overnight, that means they're with her. So because they overnight with her, that means they're using her light, they're using her water, they're using her food. So as a result, you have to pay for that. You have to compensate for that. And I see Ron over there blowing up, but that's how the system.
because you be listen. If a mom is a single mom, she ain't with the goddamn children. So let's stop with the please. If she a single mom, the majority of working people don't have no time for their children. Even in the home with 2 parents who work, they ain't with their damn child. They got their mama staying there, or they aunt, or they little cousin who really take care of the kids most of the time. Yeah, they provide the money for the facility and this and that, but they're not really parenting the kids at the level that the system is saying that's happening, and it becomes very frustrating as a father, right? Who sits on the other side of sit across with you next to me, and hear how, I'm not, I don't do that. You just said you're not with me. Yeah. But me and her work at the same job. We can see the kids at the same capacity. At the same amount. How we see the kids may be different.
We both work for the post office because that's where I met her at. So
exactly. Ron,
okay.
She still work at the post office with me. See, matter of fact, the kids at my goddamn mama house.
Okay, Ron, you can't see the thing about it, Ron. You too busy trying to argue the exception and not the experience.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's the problem.
Say.
And
Thank
so
you, Lakewood.
get off the exception and start arguing the experience, and the
But
experience.
what about those fathers' experience? See,
now again, let me tell you
their experience. They have experience too.
The experience is
What
this. And let me tell you why, Tay, so you learn.
Hold on, Tay. Go ahead.
They give the assistance to the woman. I ain't even got to ask you what's the only profession in the world, because I think you already know what it is, right?
Yeah.
That's because you do know what it is. Because you do know what it is. You know what it is, Tay. And because you do know what it is, I don't even want to tell you. I'm talking about even women with virtue have put in the predicament. I don't even want to think about mamas. I'm talking about good mamas. You understand? They had to sell ass to make up for what you didn't provide. Partner.
Well said.
Don't tell me that crap, man. I don't want to hear no exception about your situation, because if you're talking about your situation, only your situation, and it ain't benefiting by nobody else, you're wasting my time. You understand? And so before you talk about the people you saw, go ask them why they did what they did before you come up with a narrative about them. Right now, you don't understand what they did until you get to understand.
Tay, let him talk. Let him rant. Let him rant.
So get to understand. Other than that, guess what? You getting ready to do to them in this conversation what you claim they did to you.
Hey, I did, and they choose the wrong man. I say it every day. They choose the wrong man. It's not my.
Hold on here, gentlemen. We're going into feelings/money. No, we talk about feelings. Feelings are like weather. It changes. That lady likes you today, and she don't like you this evening. She don't like you tomorrow morning, and she may like you next week Monday. So Dave, when you mentioned she chose the other guy, why did she choose the other guy? Those questions need to be answered. We're talking about the child here, because when she chose the other guy, the child still needs to eat.
That question doesn't need to be answered. It's just his time when she chose the other guy. Your focus should be on your child and being a good father for your child. So with that being said,
I'm saying if you just said what Mr. Lightborn said, what I said was like woman had to sell ass. I say that because she chose the wrong man to have a child with. I ain't saying nothing. Listen, if a female want to deal with another guy while she have my son, I'm gonna say jit. While she have my son, I'm gonna take care of my responsibility as every man should. But what I'm saying is that, once again, like I said, I think when I first got on here, I was like, I have no respect for women. I ain't even like that. But it's like, I seen what they know. Like, why are you choosing this guy? Like, you know he ain't shit. Same thing I do with my homeboys. Why are you talking to that girl? Like, you know she ain't shit. So it's like, you choose to have a baby by this guy. You know he not want to be there, but all because he's 6'4", 6'10", we lie. And he got 10 inches. You want to have a baby by him? Like, come on, man. Like,
well, I mean,
like, so
Tay, we live.
Tay, you just stacked. Yeah, you just really stacked it against you. Tay,
I know that's all. Like, come on, you flip.
But Tay, when you flip it, it's the same thing we do as men.
What?
Exactly, right?
What we do?
Right. We choose women out of our league, but we still.
I know that I'm saying, so it's both sides. But just don't talk about like us. Like, they do that too. Like, I'm just like, bro, like, come on, like.
But unfortunately, even when they do that too, the system doesn't treat them that because they're the mothers of the child.
I don't care about the size of a man penis, man. You put that in the chat.
With that being said, did he put that in?
I saw you saw it. Oh, you just seen it?
Hey, I just saw that. Tay. Put that in the chat.
You saw Rohan.
With that being said, my brothers, again, what can we do when y'all got me laughing? When we can't afford the child support? We've gotten a lot of great responses. We've got a lot of great thoughts and opinions on it. I think as anybody who's watching this video has heard from us, there's a lot of different ways you can do something when you can't afford the support. Just understand that the system isn't going to make it easy for you when you can't afford the support. And oftentimes, if the young lady who you have this child with isn't necessarily on the same page as you, that's going to only make it a little bit more difficult. So, but you got to continue to push through. You got to continue to see it through, because it's not about you. It's about that child needing you. And that other half because they need to be a well-balanced person, and having you as a father involved is essential to their growth. So with that being said, I'm gonna turn it back over to Dr.
Hold on, before you wrap it up in your lawyer, because I still want, listen, I can't listen. And
I know Dr. Osborne had wanted something
you
to
know,
say.
because you just said something, you kind of told fathers to do something, and you told them that they need to, you know, almost like suck some things up, right? But a part of also of them having to suck it up, right, and accepting that this is how things is going to be, they have to come to the realization that this is how the system is made.
Correct.
Right. A lot of times we're not understand. We're thinking that the world should be fair, right?
Correct.
We always think the world it ain't fair when things don't go in our way, and everything when stuff go our way, we be like, well, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
You know, that's just how it is. And so we have to get out of that. We have to realize that the world is not fair, and we have to find a way to maneuver, because guess what? You may do everything right and still don't see your child. You have to make a plan for when you are going to see your child.
Yeah.
You know, you cannot, I'm gonna tell you something, you cannot hear from your child, cannot talk to her, whatever. Your child may reach out to you. You need to be ready to receive them, to connect with them, be able to communicate with them at the highest level, because that might be the only time that you're gonna ever have with them until they can do it independently on their own. You can't be like, oh, call me back. You got to drop everything because you ain't doing that. You ain't seeing them any other time. You're not being able to get with them any other time. So I'm saying this to the fathers out there who's saying it's hard. The mom got the child, gatekeeping, whatever. Listen, if your child got a phone, hit the line there once in a while. Drop some pictures. Drop some. You got to do some of that, right? Even if you're paying child support, because guess what? If you're mad at the mom about having to pay child support, you shouldn't transfer your anger to your child, because your child don't know nothing about any of that. Your child ain't got nothing to do with that.
True.
Now, again, I say it's not as easy. It's not as easy as we think it is to be able to just go and be able to be a part of child life and do the things you want to do, because there is gatekeeping in charge. But there are the same way you was dealing with the sneaky link to have a baby. That's the same way you can be trying to get with your kid on the sneaky link, hitting the DM, hit your kid's DM, you know, dropping your kid pictures of you saying, hey, dad, you know, you can do that.
You get a TikTok account.
Get a TikTok account, become their friend. It's so many things. And this is, I'm just offering some solutions on this idea of, yes, I'm paying child support, I'm not seeing my kid. What's some of the solution? The solution is become a stalker of your kid like you became a stalker of her mom when she got that new boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kind, listen, I'm just telling facts. You knew what to do, work, you knew all this stuff. Just spend that energy on your kid. Know where your kid go to school at. Know who the teachers is. Know all of these things, because that's what I do. I don't know anything from the mom. Everything I know is because I investigate on myself and hear from the grapevine of what's going on, what happens. I hear my ear to the street. That's what you got to do, because you want to be able to your kids say something to you. Hey, how was the recital you was in? The kid gonna be like, how you know I was even in a recital? I ain't seen you. I can't even talk to you. Because I'm still your daddy, and I'm making sure I know about you, regardless what's going on. And your mom not initiating. So I just those are some suggestions to those fathers who say it's too hard.
I just want to add one thing, and I said it before, and I'll say it again. How do kids spell love? Time.
That's right.
Time. Your time.
Okay.
Love that.
You got the last word, Elder.
Dr. Robinson, Dr. Osborne Williams, anything?
No, I mean, that was a good way to end right there. Again, folks, like, share, subscribe. We'll be here tomorrow night. Matter of fact, tomorrow night, just so people know, is our I think almost our second, and it's tonight. Tomorrow night will be our second anniversary, our third anniversary. I think it's second. Let me look real quick. I don't want to say of us being on the being on our actual app. being on the app, doing all the things we do on the app. Tomorrow is like our anniversary date. So we will be celebrating that tomorrow on our private fathers group meeting tomorrow night. So you definitely can join us. 2 years. It's our 2-year anniversary being on the
We have
band.
cake and ice cream.
We'll have virtual cake and ice cream. So you can virtually do it at your house. I'm only bringing that up so people can know that we've been doing this for over 2 years, if not longer. But we've been organized to do this for 2 years, and we've been doing this, much longer before that. And this, regardless that we don't have 200,000 followers or what have you, the work we do, and every time I see someone who comments, who says something, the stuff that we say and we do, they're always saying, I love it, it's powerful, it's to the point. And yes, in this media world where everything is hate and foolishness and shenanigans and bring people down and talk back, we're not in that world. And so we're not going to get those kind of likes, we're not going to get those kind of shares, but that's not, I think, our purpose. Our purpose is to be able to maybe help some father, help some mother, help some child understand this whole idea of what fatherhood is. And that's, with that being said, thank everybody. Thank you guys for joining. And we'll see you tomorrow night. If not, we'll see you next Tuesday night on Fatherhood Think Tank.
Hold on.
Got the chat, partner.
What is that?
I was going to just moving something out the way. Don't worry.
Okay.
Repeat after me. I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
Fathers, I say that I am.
I
say that you are.
You are.
I say that we are.
We are.
Championship
fathers.
Do the best we can.
Oh, fathers, hold on before you cut off. I'm going to cut the live off. I want to just say something to you before you leave. Good night.